We frequently describe orbital debris as a massive, disorganized cloud of space junk, an environmental cleanup problem waiting for a cosmic broom. This model is misleading. Low Earth orbit is an aerospace control system. The accumulation of mass in orbit began the moment Sputnik 1 breached the atmosphere in 1957. Since then, decades of dead satellites, spent rocket stages, and collision fragments have been steadily layering the orbital environment. Treating this accumulation as a simple inventory fails because it ignores orbital physics. These objects are moving at 10 kilometers per second. A single collision generates a high-energy cloud of shrapnel that radically increases the probability of secondary impacts across multiple orbital altitudes. To understand the actual threat, we must analyze low Earth orbit as a highly coupled operations stability problem. The risk is governed by three specific variables: local occupancy, the cross-sectional collision kernel, and the orbital residence time of dead mass. Approaching this strictly as a cleanup task guarantees systemic failure. Stabilizing the orbital environment requires the precise manipulation of these specific control variables. We are already seeing the strain on this control system in daily flight operations. To grasp the true scale of the burden, we can look at the recent collision avoidance data disclosed by SpaceX for the Starlink mega constellation. Between December 2021 and May 2022, Starlink executed under 7,000 avoidance maneuvers. 3 years later, maneuvers surged over 144,000. But raw totals are misleading due to fleet growth. We must isolate actual environmental pressure by overlaying the rate normalized per active spacecraft. The operational burden shown in that data is driven by three primary control variables governing stability: disposal reliability of newly launched spacecraft, encounter state uncertainty for high-risk conjunctions, and the legacy residual hazard stock. Maintaining access to low Earth orbit depends entirely on manipulating these three mathematical levers. Simply launching fewer satellites won't prevent a catastrophic cascade. Low Earth orbit is stratified into highly distinct altitude bands. The behavioral physics of these shells dictate completely different risk profiles depending on where a satellite operates. In the lower shell, roughly 500 to 600 kilometers above the surface, we find the highest concentration of active payloads. This extreme local occupancy drives the massive conjunction workload and constant maneuver alarms seen in the Starlink data. To determine whether a specific orbital shell will naturally clear itself or degrade into a Kessler cascade, analysts calculate the reduced stability margin. This equation pits a shell's natural and controlled sink strength against its fragment production gain from collisions. Despite the intense crowding, the 500 to 600 kilometer shell is dynamically damped. Because atmospheric drag at this altitude acts as a powerful, continuous sink, objects naturally deorbit faster than collisions can multiply them. Moving higher to the shell near 850 kilometers, the variables invert. There is far less active traffic here, but atmospheric drag is incredibly weak. This shell holds a massive volume of inactive, dead mass with extremely long orbital residence times. A prime example is Envisat, an inactive European Earth observation satellite weighing over 8,000 kilograms. Objects of this scale represent dense clusters of potential kinetic energy, parked permanently in a high-risk zone. Because the sink strength is so weak at 850 kilometers, this shell is locally amplifying. If a collision happens here, the resulting fragment production heavily outpaces natural decay. Even if all new launches stopped today, the environment at this altitude will continue to degrade. This is the altitude paradox. The shell driving the majority of daily collision alarms is not the shell driving long-term existential instability. The stability of the lower 500-kilometer shell is entirely reliant on continuous, perfectly executed active collision avoidance by the operators. This process relies on calculating encounter state uncertainty. When two objects cross paths, tracking data generates a combined miss-distance covariance ellipse, a specific zone mapping the mathematical probability of where those objects actually are. Mega constellations use these calculations to execute autonomous maneuvers. If tracking data is imprecise, the area of that uncertainty ellipse expands, generating a surge of false warnings and forcing satellites to burn fuel, dodging phantoms. The primary threat to this delicate control loop is space weather. A severe solar storm can cause sudden atmospheric heating, forcing the upper layers of the atmosphere to swell outward into low Earth orbit. This sudden increase in atmospheric drag abruptly alters the trajectories of tens of thousands of objects. Because their exact positions become unpredictable, the uncertainty ellipses balloon. With degraded navigation precision, the autonomous maneuver control loops of the megaconstellations are effectively blinded. The satellites can no longer reliably distinguish between a safe pass and a catastrophic impact. Recent analysis quantified the fragility of this system using the CRH clock metric. In 2018, before the rise of megaconstellations, a complete loss of tracking and maneuver control would have allowed roughly 121 days before a major collision occurred. Today, with the extreme density of the lower shell, if a major solar storm knocks out the ability to issue avoidance maneuvers, the time to catastrophe drops to just 2.8 days. Constant active maneuvering does not cure Kessler Syndrome. It merely suspends the entire orbital system over a 2.8-day precipice of cascading failure. This brings us back to the unstable 850-kilometer shell. How do we stabilize a higher regime where the mass is completely dead and active maneuvering is impossible? The answer lies in the third control variable, the legacy hazard stock. This mathematical integral calculates the threat of a specific object over time by combining its post-failure hazard rate, its potential breakup severity, and its remaining orbital residence time. By analyzing the hazard stock, we see that orbital remediation is a strict, budget-constrained portfolio optimization problem. Because the integral weights present hazard by remaining residence time, a small group of the top 50 highest hazard derelict rocket bodies and inactive payloads dominate the entire remediation campaign. Removing these specific objects yields immense avoided hazard per dollar. Extracting these high-value targets requires active debris removal, sending specialized chaser spacecraft to rendezvous with, capture, and safely deorbit non-cooperative derelicts. First-of-a-kind demonstrations by commercial companies and international space agencies have proven that close proximity inspection and the complex capture mechanics required for this are now technically credible. For targets where permanent removal is too costly, researchers have validated just-in-time collision avoidance. Instead of capturing the object, a vehicle simply nudges the derelict out of the way only when a threatening conjunction is predicted, capturing much of the benefit at a fraction of the cost. Stabilizing the upper layers of low Earth orbit requires surgical strikes against high-mass targets, not broad attempts to capture millions of paint flecks. Kessler Syndrome is a series of highly localized stability failures. We must treat low Earth orbit as two distinct control problems, requiring different operational levers. In the crowded lower shell, the primary intervention is shrinking encounter state uncertainty. We need order-of-magnitude tracking improvements to prevent autonomous control failures during solar storms. We must also enforce rapid disposal reliability for new spacecraft, ensuring they deorbit within 5 years so the lower shell maintains its sink strength. Conversely, in the unstable upper shell, the primary intervention is targeted remediation to actively reduce legacy hazard stock. Surviving low Earth orbit requires highly precise data at 500 kilometers and highly precise physical mass removal at 850 kilometers. The upcoming decade is a test of aerospace systems engineering and international procurement. Orbital stability is achievable, but only if we stop treating space as a static junkyard and manage it as a dynamic control system.